native communities from the Andes, native descendants, used to believe, and some still do, that the Andean cat is the only animal that can move between planes, between the plane of the gods and the
Okay.
plane of humans.
Right.
The gods for Andean communities are the mountains. The mountains have names, the mountains have character, they have personalities. And the Andean cat is the only one that can move between these planes.
Welcome to Saving Wildlife with me, Sam Williams. This is where we get to hear from amazing conservationists about their life and work and all the incredible things they do to save wildlife. Of all the conservationists I know, you've got to be the most dedicated because the Andean cat seems to me like a mythical creature. Have you seen it? How many times have you seen it?
Well, as I was repeatedly told this week, I don't think it's dedication, it's stubbornness. Working with a species that you don't really get to see, it's a challenge, but it gets to a point that you stop even looking for it. The only time I can tell I saw the cat, I was like literally heavily pregnant, 7 months pregnant, so big
Wow.
belly.
Yeah.
So my less pregnant team went up the cliff, and I was walking down the cliff, and somebody from the top radioed me like, "I'm staring at an Andean cat." No, come on, stop joking. I was eating chicken. I will never forget it. And he said, "I'm not joking. I'm just staring straight at the Andean cat." And I was like literally sitting right next to the cliff. So it's impossible to look up top. So I started running with my big belly bouncing one side to the other, stepping away from the cliff so I could see up. And I just saw this tiny thing running.
Right.
And I could not have said if it was an Andean cat if somebody have not seen it from the other side.
Right.
That's my only
So,
sighting in the wild.
really? And
Yeah.
how long have you worked with Andean cats?
I don't know, 22 years now.
That is
But
incredible.
you know what, Sam? It gets to a point that you stop looking.
Right.
When I go to the field now, I'm always looking down. I'm looking for scats. I'm looking
Right.
for places to put the camera traps. So you don't look up anymore. And I feel the difference when I go with new people because they're always looking at the cliffs with binoculars.
Hoping to
Maybe
see
they have
one.
more chances to see one than I do.
Right. I couldn't do it. I work with big parrots that are noisy and I need that reinforcement. I think it's incredible because, yeah, it's like, it's as though you work with poop.
Poopologists.
Poopologists. That's great. And how do you stay motivated? Like you say, you take it so well that you're like, okay, I don't even look up. But how do you stay motivated to do it when you know they're there?
Well, we
But
can go back to the beginning to the stubborn part. No, well, really. It's like, I think that working in conservation is not just about being able to see the animals. It's just knowing the animals are there. And we do know when the animals are there or not because of all the methods that we use in the field.
Right.
But it's also working with the communities and making their lives better. So when you talk with a herder that all of his life since he was a kid, this person have been taking care of his livestock. And now they told us that it's the first time in his own life that he's able to sleep for the whole night because of the livestock guardian dog is protecting the livestock.
Okay, yeah.
So it's
We'll
a
come to
life
them.
changer for that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, right.
It literally changed that person's life. And another guy told us that now they are able to attend the school acts of their kids for the first time.
Because the
Because
animals are safe.
the dogs
And
are with
wow.
the livestock in the field.
So have you found that you got into this because of the animals, but now it's actually almost more about the people, and that that's such positive interactions and things like that?
I don't. I would be lying if I'd say it's more about the people.
Okay.
Because when
good.
I'm in the field, I'm always thinking about the animals.
Right.
I'm working in the high Andes is very, very challenging. It's very dry, very arid, very isolated, very but elevation is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're walking in this habitat, I found that more times that I could care to count, I found myself talking with myself, trying to think with myself, about like a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And I really end up understanding the connection that the native communities have with their landscape because I feel that connection at those times. You
Right.
feel connected with the landscape, with the mountain. You end up saying like, please, whatever god of all carnivores exists there, just give me a mountain of poop. That's all that I'm asking right now.
Great.
With a fresh scat on top that I can collect for genetic analysis.
Right. Okay. So does it have to be fresh to get the
Genetics,
genetics?
yes. Yes, it
Okay.
has to be fresh.
Right. Okay. Okay. Very cool. So let's talk about the cat, because you've brought this guy with you. So let's have a look at your cat, because it's much bigger than I expected.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So
Here we-
this is how, like, a real size version of an
Yeah.
Andean cat, made in felt by an incredible artist that is called Kiyoshi Mino. And the Andean cat, as you can see, is a little bit bigger than a house cat. It looks a lot bigger because it's very fluffy. But
if it was wet, it would be like a tiny cat.
yeah, it's like it has like an inch of fur,
All right.
like 3 centimeters of fur all around its body. It's very thick fur, so it doesn't weigh as much as how it looks.
Okay.
You know,
Is that for insulation?
it's for insulation, yes, because of the landscape that it lives. It has very big hands
Yeah.
and feet, and because they have to climb the walls, and they have this very
Big
long tail
Yeah.
that they use as balance when they are moving on the rocks trying to hunt their prey.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you don't get to. I find it amazing. They must be very elusive then. They would be like their behavior. Just are they daytime? Are they nighttime? When are they out and about?
Well, there are several
Shall we
studies.
put this guy down.
You want to put it
Just
down?
keep him safe.
So they are active like almost at any time. Usually around sunset and sunrise, they are particularly active. But at first, we used to believe that they were only active at nighttime, but they're usually more active at night and also at that dusk and downtime.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, mid morning too. But
Right.
yeah.
And you talked about the amount of fur. The places you work are like extreme environments. So you mentioned altitude. What kind of height are you working at when you're going into the field?
So in the past, we used to believe that these species range only between 3,500 and 5,000.
Okay.
But now
Meters. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Just to be yeah.
Do we have to pass it on to
No,
feet or
I
something?
don't. I don't think I could. I don't think we should do that. I think I would get it wrong. So we're good. Yeah.
Okay, so no, it's not that hard. It's between 12,000 and 15,000.
Okay.
So but in North Patagonia, it ranges to lower elevations because of the when you increase latitude, a lot of species reduce altitude. So they live in lower elevations down there.
Right.
But most of the range is very, very high, very dry, very isolated. That's why it's such a poorly known species.
Well, and also, I mean, I've heard, you have a reputation of doing extremely tough field work. Tell us about your field work and how, when you go into the field, how you do it. And like you go for extended periods, like you're not just going for the day when you go into the field.
No, it's literally impossible to go for today because it's just, well, we have teams all over the Andean cat distribution. So this varies depending on the team.
Yeah.
In my particular case, my study areas are like a day away drive. So I always have to do longer field campaigns to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And usually when you go, you don't do only one thing because we have different conservation programs. You implement different programs at the same time. So we do vaccinations during the morning and we do talks during the afternoon. The next day we do a school workshop. Mm-hmm. And every other day we go to the field to try to find more cats if it's a new location. If we already sampled that, we know the cats are there, we're not going to be doing a lot more intense field work in that time, in that particular community. We're going to work more with people.
Right. But when you're in the field, you're in an alpine environment.
Yeah.
Does that, that's it can be an interesting environment. Have you ever been caught off guard where you're kind of in the field and suddenly there's like thunder and lightning storms or that kind of thing? Have you had?
Yeah, I think that
is it just normal for you?
Every single one of us have one of those stories, you know, and even altitude sickness, the thing that you get when you go above certain meters, that it's like it gives you headaches and lack of breath, and you feel literally terrible, like you're going to die in a minute or something. Usually it doesn't hit, but it may hit out of nowhere. You have no idea if you're going to get it or not.
That's my experience. Yeah.
Like Cynthia, for instance, that worked with us, she has like tons of field experience, tons of hours going in the field. Never had it until she had it once, and it was like horrible for her.
Right.
But it's like there are these things that happen, but the landscape is also very rewarding, Sam, because it's very, very pristine. You can sit on the top of a rock and have a straight line of view of over 100 square kilometers, in any direction,
Right.
and no see any human signs.
Wow.
And that is a massive feeling. It really transforms you from the inside out because it's like you're part of that landscape.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you get into this work? And were you always a crazy cat lady, or you were okay? And then did you train as a biologist? What drew you to this, and the alpine environment?
Okay, so I always loved cats. And I identify myself as a crazy cat lady, and I'm very proud of that fact. Until today, I started rescuing kittens when I was, I don't know, 8 or 9, something like that. And I've been doing it most of my life. When I ended my high school education, I had to decide what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a communicator. I always wanted to work in conservation. I always wanted to work with animals. Science scared me a little bit at that time. We're
Right.
talking about several years ago. But all the math and the physics and chemistry, it scared me a little bit. So I started studying communication. I was doing great, had perfect grades. My dad was really happy because we had something to talk. He was a lawyer, so
Okay.
we had something to talk. But at the middle of the year, I said, you know what? This is just not what I see myself doing when I'm 50.
Right.
So I switched careers. I went into biology. And it was a hard career. And at that time, it was even a lot harder than it's now because of professors being with, big heads, big egos, and those kind of things. So
Sure.
it was a challenge. But
Was there? Did you face sexism in that environment? Or
oh yes,
Yeah?
and in the first field campaigns, it was very common.
Right.
Now it's a lot less common, but at the beginning, it was. I had park rangers told me to go do the dishes, literally.
Really?
Yeah,
That's-
those
yeah.
things have always happened. They're still happening, but less and less. So I think, which is great.
Mhm.
We also have a lot of women in our team, so I think it's men are starting to get outnumbered in field work, so which is a good thing.
Yeah. Right.
But yes, I always wanted to do this. And I did my undergrad thesis as a biologist with a whole carnivores community in North Patagonia. I started working with a conservation NGO. And then, who was my boss at the moment, invited me to go to the field with him to look for Andean cats in a new place. And it was my first time in the Andes. And my sister, who is a geologist, also, she had already told me that if the first time I ever visited that landscape, I would fall in love, and she was completely right. Because I had the first or second day that we were up there, we were walking all day. It was exhausting because of the lack of oxygen. But when I sat down at sunset, when I sat down at that rock, and I look all around me, didn't see not even a light, It was like so powerful because I felt like so vulnerable, but also so protected at the same time because there's nothing really dangerous there, and that I felt that I melted into the landscape. It was like a love at first sight,
Yeah. Wonderful.
and the cat is like, I always love cats and I love the landscape. It's like my flag to protect this landscape.
Right.
you know?
Yeah. When we say the Andes, we're talking. You've mentioned Patagonia, so that's Argentina and Chile, and the range extends up into Peru, right? And
Yeah, the Andean cat, we work at the species level. So we work everywhere where the species is. And the species is from central Peru all the way through Bolivia,
Bolivia's in the middle. Okay, right.
Chile,
Yeah.
and Argentina, all the way around the middle part of Argentina and Chile, where the cat expands to a little bit of lower elevations on the Argentinian side.
Okay. And how many are across that range? That's four countries.
Yeah, our latest estimates suggest that there are less than 2,200 adult Andean cats in the whole
Really?
distribution. Yeah, it's a very low density species
Wow. I
because
didn't-
of a lot of reasons, but there's an inner factor that it's their own biology, and that's
So they're like a slow reproducer or something like
yes.
that. Okay.
Our information suggests that they only have one kitten per year, each
Right.
female, which is very atypical in cats. There are no other cats, no
Right.
other wild cats
Yeah.
that have only one kitten per year. And it's their reproductive technique.
Mm-hmm.
They have evolved in
Well,
this way.
that would tie in with the low density, I guess,
Exactly.
and things
And
like that.
human pressures.
Yeah.
That's why it puts the species to be highly endangered.
I mean, that's really far lower than I was expecting. I didn't know that number. Do you think they were ever very, much higher than that? Has the population been reduced quite dramatically?
Well, that's a hard question
Of
to
course,
ask.
but what's your feeling on that?
I really don't want to guess on that because it probably was higher before, but no, I would not say that it was that much higher because we are talking about a species that is very, very hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, it was already considered as a sacred species because of its how rare it was, and the very specific habitat it lives in, because it lives in the high Andes and nowhere else. It uses the rocky outcrops. Native communities from the Andes, native descendants, used to believe, and some still do, that the Andean cat is the only animal that can move between planes, between the plane of the gods and the
Okay.
plane of humans.
Right.
The gods for Andean communities are the mountains. The mountains have names, the mountains have character, they have personalities. And the Andean cat is the only one that can move between these planes.
Interesting. Right.
And I think the native communities were able to identify this species very well from the other one that lives with the Andean cat, that is the Pampas cat, because of how rare it was. So I think it's always been a low density species. That's also what the genetic studies kind of suggest so far, that sometime in the past it had like a bottleneck in its evolution
Mm-hmm.
that reduced the numbers.
Right.
So from recent history, I would say kind of the numbers, maybe they were not that different, but we cannot know because 25 years ago, Sam, we did know nothing about this species.
Yeah.
Literally, we created all the information that existed about the Andean cat was created by the Andean Cat Alliance in 25, almost 26 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we think about their one thing I seem to remember from one of your presentations is their prey species is like a rabbit that got shagged by a kangaroo and likes parkour. Because they're like, they zip around, they bounce around off the rocks, presumably to avoid these guys. Would that be about an accurate? I forget the name. It's like, I want to say Vizsla, but that's the dog. So I'm really struggling here.
So it's the mountain Vizcacha.
Vizcacha. Okay.
So yeah, I describe it a lot easier for people to understand,
I didn't
like a
mind
fat squirrel.
But
It's like a
it's pretty chunky on the back legs. And okay.
A fat squirrel.
A fat
I'm telling
squirrel.
you.
Okay, right.
Because he has the tail, but
Okay.
bigger ears.
Yeah.
That's where the rabbit comes in. But yes, the mountain Vizcachas are rock specialists.
Okay.
And the Andean cat is not. It's adapted to the rock, but it's not a specialist. The mountain Vizcacha is like picas.
Oh yeah, I know those guys.
Picas have the special adapted toes and things that allow them to move very fast in the rocks.
I didn't know that.
And mountain Vizcachas has very similar things, very similar adaptations. So when you see a mountain Vizcacha, even when they are, as you say, chunky, they move on the rocks so fast.
Mm-hmm.
They are so agile that there are few predators that can actually hunt them very effectively. We believe that the Andean cat is one of them, and some raptors probably. But yes, that's the main source of biomass for the Andean cat. Of course, they are cat. They eat anything. So they will eat small mouse. They will eat, waterfowl. They will eat a lot of different kind of prey.
Okay, right. I want to come back to something before I lose it. You mentioned that your sister said that you would fall in love with the mountains, and you did. And in that moment, I was thinking about you mentioned you were pregnant when you saw the cat, the tail of a cat or something. And I've just met your son. What does he think about what you do?
Well, I think that both of my sons got used to having a not that typical kind of mother.
Definitely not. I'm sure. Yes.
For a lot of reasons, one being my work.
Right.
And, you know, my older son is kind of like okay with it. They have gone with me to the field several times. The last time they went there, both of them, they were like discussing where to put the camera traps. It was a very interesting conversation to see because they were talking like Andean cat experts. That there probably are some sort of experts because they grew up with the Andean cat. But my younger son, at some point in life, he was a little bit jealous. Of course, come on, the Andean cat,
Of the Andean cat,
because the
because it
Andean
got
cat
your attention.
exactly was taking the
Right.
mama away from him. You
Right.
know, we travel a lot in this work.
Yeah.
You have the same thing happening to you too. You know, you travel a lot for your work. Is what we do, and it's our passion, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, what does your dog think about when you leave
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, he's probably fine. He's with other dogs. He's happy. But yeah, okay, interesting. Okay, back to the cats. I didn't want to forget that. So they're eating viscacha and other animals. Is there anything that preys on an Andean cat? Is there a big eagle or anything like that comes and gets them?
No,
birds
not that we
win?
know of.
Oh, okay.
Not that we know of. Of course. No, I told you, you work with cat food.
Very good.
No. There's not, we don't think that there's going to be a big raptor that will kill the Andean cats. Maybe the kittens will be attacked by something.
Okay,
But there is something that happens between carnivores that is called competitive exclusion. So a bigger carnivore will probably attack a smaller carnivore if they find each other. There's only one record of an Andean cat and a culpeo fox that are kind of like the same size in a fox, in a catted version.
Yeah.
And they were all the time like, there's a video of this, a very old video from a mining company. The cat is all, like twisted and, put like how do you say that in English?
I don't know. But I know what you mean. Like he's ready to attack.
When the cat is all like
ready, coiled like a spring, ready to explode.
And the dog is kind of like growling, and they are like dancing around each other, and they end up walking one in every direction.
Okay.
Because they have the same weight, so fighting would not be efficient because they don't really have the chance to win. They're going to end up both very injured. But if a puma, mountain lion, finds one of them, it's probably going to try to kill it. Okay. So that's why they usually avoid each other,
Right, sure. So what threatens the Andean cat? What are you up against?
So the main threats are habitat loss and degradation, mainly because of extractive industries, mining and oil companies, and also hunting in several areas, mostly where I work. Hunting is very, very heavy because they're not direct native descendants. There's secondary colonization that happened there. So people have lost that connection they had with nature. And they still have that connection in Bolivia, Peru, northern Chile. But where I work, it's mostly lost. There are also some other challenges. Hunting is very complex because it's not just because people hunt the Andean cat in retaliation because of mountain lion killing livestock. The Andean cat does not really kill livestock.
Right.
Because it's too small for that. But the mountain lions do, and people get mad at the mountain lion and they kill all carnivores.
Just everything.
Because everything, even skunks. Right. They get everything. So that may be one of the reasons of the hunting. It can also be because they don't know the species. So the dogs start running around behind something and they just don't stop the dogs because they want to see what it is. Mm-hmm. It can also be by domestic dogs that are kind of abandoned in the Andes or in Patagonia, and they just literally kill the cat, turn it into pieces. Or we also suspect that dogs can be transmitters of disease or parasites to these wild animals,
And they're not adapted to cope with that. And then,
of course, yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah. So when you've got these various threats, there's human elements there. What are the conservation actions that the Andean Cat Alliance is putting into action?
Well, for the first, I would say 10 years, because there was nothing known about this species, we did a lot of research, basic research, because we needed to know what we needed to do to conserve the species. And while doing that, of course, we kind of identified the threats and Now our approach for the past 15 years has been more from a conservation perspective, community-based conservation. Mainly, our programs are designed to reduce the effects of the conservation threats at a global scale, but in a way that is customized to each community. So we approach a community, we ask them what their problems are, we listen to their needs, and if it's possible, we offer some possible solutions that have worked in other places to see what they want to implement.
So the dogs being one of those examples.
Yes, like our conflict mitigation program, for instance, tries to reduce the conflicts with mountain lions and Kulpeya foxes. And we offer several tools that can help herders, livestock herders, there are different kinds of livestock here. We're talking about cattle, goats, sheep, llamas, alpacas, everything, because it's all over the distribution. So
Right.
it's not, there's not one rule that fits everybody. So we have to, every community decides what they want to implement. Some people has asked us for some livestock guarding dogs. That's a very, very successful technique. It's the best one of all, but it's very hard and very expensive to maintain.
Right.
And in other places where that is not available, we help them improve their corrals. We'll provide deterring lights that they activate at night. Some other tools, they ask us for flashlights or some fireworks that they can throw when they think the mountain lion is approaching. Things that are sustainable.
Pretty basic stuff, though.
Pretty
isn't
basic
it?
stuff. It's pretty basic stuff. It takes a long time. That's one of our programs. We have the Positive Actions program, where we try to reduce the problem with the dogs by increasing responsible ownership. It's a very complex problem, but it's growing really fast in South America. Domestic dogs are a big, big conservation challenge at the moment.
Yeah, I think globally, it's a few years ago, but it was like they're kind of the fifth biggest threat to wildlife. Is like feral dogs.
Yes.
Globally, yeah.
Do you have any kind of trouble with feral dogs or cats where you work?
Not really, not that I know. I'm not certainly not with birds, but I imagine I wouldn't be surprised because there's peccaries and things like that. So there's definitely things the dogs would go for. In Costa Rica, dog ownership is very different to kind of Europe or a Western perspective. Dogs are kind of loosely associated with a household. Is that how it is in
Exactly.
Argentina? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
That's how
they
it
might
is.
just go off for the day and go
Yeah.
hunting, and that's fun for them. I can understand.
That's the thing. They get together with their dog pals and they go
Yeah.
do
Doggy things.
doggy things, killing stuff.
Right.
And it's a big, big problem.
Yeah.
And it's not just feral dogs.
Okay.
That's the common
So they're
misconception.
domestic.
There is domestic dogs that are not properly taken care of.
Right.
What does this mean? They can be completely feral, medium feral, like a dog that it's like with a person whenever they want, but if they don't want to, they go roam the wild.
Okay.
Or they can be working dogs that usually close to the herder, but are they're let allowed to go eat from the wild now and then.
Wow.
Because that happens a lot in South America.
So in terms of breeds, is that more like shepherds or collies, or if they're working with like
these are usually crossbreeds.
just whatever is going right.
The ones that we use in the conflict mitigation program, that is a regular breed.
Is that the Anatolian? Those the big guys, the big white ones?
Yeah, the thing with Anatolians is that they work really well in the winter, but in the Patagonian summer they literally melt.
Is it
hot? It's very hot.
All
it gets to be very, very hot. So we are trying to develop a crossbreed.
Okay.
Between other breeds and some local big dogs, because they have to be big dogs. But as I told you, it's a very expensive technique, very hard to maintain, and very hard to expand effectively and replicate. We are trying to start a second breeding center in Peru, but it's going to take a while.
So you have a dog breeding center
in Patagonia, yes.
Patagonia.
We work in collaboration with another NGO, with WCS there, to put that breeding center. But the project it's very successful. We have people asking for the dogs all the time, but it's very, very, very expensive. And you have to, all these dogs always need to eat good food.
Right.
Because if they get hungry, they're gonna, I don't know if you know about the technique.
No,
so these dogs are taken from the mother when they are puppies, and they are fed by goats and
Or like
and
goat milk?
goats
Like,
and sheep. Yeah, from the sheep. They live literally in a corral with the goats and the sheep.
do they think
The
they're
dog mama comes inside to feed them, like at first every 2 hours, then more and more sparse until it's only at night. So they believe that the goats and the sheep are their family.
right? Yeah.
So they raise with a very close bond to these livestock.
Wow.
That's why it's so successful, because the dog don't care at all about being with the livestock. And because we are using the breeds that have been selected for hundreds of years to do this, these dogs are very used to do. They don't feel it as a work.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not
Sure.
working dogs. They are gods fulfilling their dreams, because they go out with the goats in the morning. When you open the corral, the guys open the corral, and I have videos of this. It's amazing to see. The livestock herder opens the corral. The dogs walks out first to see there's nothing that can be uh,
Dangerous.
affect or
Right.
dangerous
Yeah.
to their livestock. Then the livestock start coming out, and the goats marks leads the way to where the animals are going to be. And then what the dogs does all day is just lay down and sleep, basically. That's
Right.
what they do.
Yeah.
Because it's not, people think that the dogs are going to be attacking the pumas. The pumas just don't approach that herd because
Okay.
it smells like a carnivore.
Right. Right. Okay.
So it's a deterring technique.
But
you know
you mentioned that there's different kinds of animals are kept. So there's cattle, and I mean the one that of course I'm curious about is the llamas and alpacas. Are the dogs going out with them as well? Then?
Well, llamas and alpacas are different. That's why we are figuring out how, and if possible, to have livestock garden dogs with that kind of livestock,
Okay.
because llamas has a different way of using the landscape.
Okay.
Llamas when they go to the field, they separate in smaller groups, and the dog is not going to be effective like that.
Okay. So they're not herding in the
Exactly,
same
they
way.
don't stay in the same location.
Right. Right.
And usually mountain lions are very good at detecting the animals that go separated, and they attack those. So even in a goat herd or in a sheep herd, that's going to happen. But alpacas usually stay closer together. So maybe we can use this technique with alpacas and not with llamas. Or for llamas, we have to adapt it in some other way. We are still trying to figure it out, what to do with those kind of livestock. So far, is improvement of corrals what has worked for them. So the mountain lion cannot access the corral at night, which is very important, and also the lights. But lights that require that you have to take them down. We use another technique for a month, and then you have to put them back
Okay.
again, because
Yeah.
mountain lions are cats, so they're very, very, very smart. They learn.
Not as smart as parrots, but
on.
quite smart.
Come
Okay.
on, I tell you, you work with cat food. Would one of your parrots eat one of my cats?
So, you're implementing these projects, and you're doing that across it's an alliance, and it's across 4 countries, and so you've got team members working in all of these countries doing some combination of these projects. Is that right?
Yes, we have different team members working in all the countries where the Andean cat is, and we maximize the human resource by doing this, And we also, as I told you before, we don't really force any solutions in the communities. We implement the project that they need. So our other program is the CatCraft program, where we provide CatCraft.
Okay, yeah.
Where we provide economic alternatives for communities. This is mostly based on developing handcrafts.
Yes, okay.
By women from the communities, women and men, but mostly women. And that program is also very successful, because these women are trained in what they need to make their own products better to be sold everywhere where they go.
Where is the alliance distributing those products?
We don't really have.
Where they sell?
We don't have a selling platform. The idea is to empower them so they can become better sellers. We usually, when we travel, we take some of the crafts to show the quality of the products and those kind of things. But the idea is for them to become conservation ambassadors for the Andean cat, because all the crafts are usually designed inspired in the Andean cat, with the Andean cat colors. It can be clothing that they are doing in Peru, for instance, with alpaca wool. In northern Argentina and northern Chile, where they're working with felt,
right,
for doing different kind of products. And yeah, it's a successful project, but it's hard to scale up too.
Sure. When when we talk about the alliance, how many people are working, and how many staff versus volunteers? Tell me a bit more about the organization and how you work.
So, well, one of the biggest challenges is exactly that, to be able to retain and maintain our staff, because it's very hard to find um, budgets or grants to pay salaries.
Right.
So we only have 3 full-time staff.
Oh, really?
Yes, sad.
Yeah.
10 part-time staff,
Okay.
and everybody else is a volunteer. We are over 30 people in the organization, and most people volunteer their time to do whatever they can. Some people can go to a congress that we have been invited to. Some people can go assist, install some camera traps. Some
Right.
people, it's like that.
Are you doing any tracking of the? Do you do any radio collar stuff?
Yeah,
or
we
anything?
did it. We did in the past.
In
There
the
were
past,
a couple
yeah.
of projects. There
Okay.
were actually Juan Repucci did one of the biggest, and Cynthia, they both together did one of the biggest tracking projects of Andean cats that ever existed. But there have only been 2 initiatives that were successful. This is a very hard species to capture.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Very hard. And they obtained a lot of basic information that was really needed to understand the basic things about these populations, about this species.
Yeah.
Like we learned, for instance, that a female Andean cat has a home range between 40 and 60 kilometers,
Wow.
which is pretty big for a female. Mostly if you take into consideration that cats usually have a structure of 3 females per male.
Oh yeah.
We don't know if the Andean cat is exactly like that, because of where the Andean cat lives, maybe the structure is a little bit different and the territories overlap more. We don't really know those kind of things.
Right.
And it would be great to know those things, but we also need to do the conservation work. We cannot wait to have those answers
Sure.
to those questions to do the conservation work. So my goal as the coordinator of the Alliance for these years has been to empower our conservation programs. We do have a lot of room for people to do basic research, because there's a lot of things that we still don't know about the species. So it's important to keep on doing that research, but we need to do conservation right now, because if not, the species is going to disappear.
Right. Yeah. And with the alliance, you're fundraising for work, but you've got this. I don't want to say it's not a charismatic species, because I'm sure they're very lovely when you get to know them. But is it maybe fair to say it's a bit of an obscure species? So it's like, what is that for? Okay, well, anyway, it's like it's not a well-known species.
If you don't like cats,
no, it's not that. It's not just that I don't like cats, but it's not. I mean, it's not a snow leopard. Even snow leopards have got great fame, and lions. If we're going to take cats or leopards.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that lions are so famous?
I think it might be because there's more history of Europeans going into Europe, and they're big, and they probably, there's stories of them eating a few people, so that probably helps. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that you can sit on top of the truck with binoculars and see them.
Yeah, of course.
So people that go to Africa can see lions all the time. Even when lions are in a big conservation conundrum, because they're very famous, but they're very few if you compare them to how many they were in the past. So it's still conservation challenge.
Yeah.
But they're a lot more recognized. We grew up reading storybooks about lions, elephants, and giraffes. All of us, every single one of us.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what brought us into conservation, Stories about Jane Goodall or Laurie Marker, these people that were so strong. One of the things that happened in our partner network in WCN, where we met, is like I could, share the room with people like Laurie, like Claudio Sigero, like Ian, that has been conservation icons, which is very empowering. But I understand why those species are easily recognized. Sure. Because they're easier to see. And seeing an animal creates a bond.
Yeah, well, that comes back to me saying, well, I like parrots because I can see them all the time. And
well, I see the Andean cat in my imagination.
In your imagination. It's
a confession that I have to
make. I love it. But how do we safeguard a future for these animals that are not the charismatic ones. I mean, you have an incredible challenge as the leader of the alliance. What do you think the solution is? How do we ensure the sustainability of your organization?
Well, I first of all is acting now. We need to act now. We need to recognize that this habitat that looks very bare also holds very precious wildlife that does not exist anywhere else. And if we blink, they may disappear
Hmm.
because they live in these very unique environments that cannot live anywhere else. There are no Andean cats in captivity anywhere in the planet. I have never been, which it tells you a lot about how rare this species is. But I think that just getting the species to be known creates a lot of momentum. And I can give an example. Like there is like now when an Andean cat is seen by somebody and they take a picture and they publish it on their Facebook or Instagram, we usually somebody tag one of us of the alliance in that publication in less than a day.
Hmm.
So we are able to track all the records of Andean cats because now people are starting to know that when they see a cat, it may be an important thing. Sometimes it is a pampas cat,
Right.
but people are now being able to recognize this species as very rare. So every person that sees an Andean cat recognizes that that moment is special. And I think that creating that social construct of, you know, I'm part of this now is also very powerful to changing the speech about conservation.
Hmm.
It's not the Andes looks bare, but it's a very precious landscape, and from a more useful perspective, is where most of the rivers of South America start.
Yeah,
So
sure.
if we want to protect the water, we have to protect this landscape. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. You've talked about um, a range of different skills from research, the tenacity of stubbornness of there's not so much a skill, but you that, and then working with communities, and then I'm kind of curious about the fundraising things. What do you think younger conservationists are going to need to save Andean cats and other species? What are the skills that you think we need more of in conservation?
Hmm. Well, this brings the talk that we had today, earlier, to my mind. I think that all skills can be learned too. The same
Hmm.
thing you feel. I think that skills can be learned, but people needs the commitment, and I've seen a switch in younger professionals about how they relate to fieldwork in general. And I'm not saying it's a bad switch, because in our time it was ridiculous. I think that I usually I once I had to take a, a, a butter thing. I don't know how to call pan de manteca, like a piece of butter from
Okay.
like 600 kilometers when I was doing volunteering a project because they told us we have to bring all of our food on the bus. It's like 600 kilometers. So it was ridiculous. In the past, it was ridiculous. They really work us out. It was exhausting. It was overly demanding. And I always said we had to change that. So all of our volunteers, they were always fully sustained. Sometimes we were not able to pay salaries, but we sustained all of their expenses. So they just have to, come to the field, put their bodies and their soul and, their
Hmm.
passion, and that would be it. But now it's very hard to find students that really want to go do field work because field work is challenging.
Right.
It's not easy to do. It demands on your body, it demands on your mind to be in that altitude. Uh, there are some people there that still are willing, but I think we have to provide, we as uh, elder conservationists, with our vast amount of knowledge, we should provide better commodities for these people to be engaged. Because I think that without younger generations, this work is absolutely worthless.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have hope for the future? Do you think it's doable that saving Andean cats, keeping them safe, and even bigger picture?
I do think it's doable at certain scale.
Yeah.
I think that over the years I learned to I went I think that we all of us that work in conservation, we have like a roller coasters of emotions depending on the political news of that you decide to read or not. Now I try to avoid all news. So
Right.
can live in my delusional world about saving the planet. I do think it is doable at certain scale, that we have to plan in a realistic way, and that realistic way can be a little bit hurtful, but it's the way to do it. And if we are trying to plan on a magical world where everybody is like you know eating not eating meat and those kind of things, it's really not something feasible. So if we keep it real and keep on working for it, I think we can do it. And I do think this because our organization also has 26 years in existence. There's no other organization in South America that has evolved as we did, and I have such strong confidence in the team that I work with,
Hmm.
because I've seen the level of commitment. These past 2 years were a political hell for us.
Right.
Just trying to navigate bureaucracy for starting our NGOs, it was crazy, but we got them done.
Hmm.
So right now, like this today, yesterday, and I hope tomorrow and next week, I feel that no matter how many obstacles they put in our way, we're gonna have it done.
Right.
We're gonna make
Yeah.
it happen.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. We're gonna put notes, show people where to find you in the show notes, and just wish you the best of luck for the Andean cat.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for having us. Bye bye.
Rocio and her team at the Andean Cat Alliance work so incredibly hard, and I know they're underfunded. Please help her out. Like and subscribe the video. If you've got a crazy cat friend, share it with them. Share it with somebody else who wouldn't otherwise discover it. And let's help get their story of conservation out there. Thank you.